so easily. Give it up for Stephano.
Stephano notably has pretty much won every tournament in Europe, the majority of tournaments in Europe. He's lost a few here and there. For MVP, for a Korean, for anybody to come and challenge that, Stephano's going to live up to that. He's going to fight the challenge. If it was vice versa and we see Stephano go to Korea, yeah, they're all going to defend their home ground. We saw that before when Stephano went to Korea. It's right he does for his.
Yep, they dealt with him and dispatched him pretty effortlessly. Well, relatively effortlessly. Any foreigner that does go over to Korea, it's a hard time for them, but now MVP is on Stephano's turf. And he's looking to go for that hatchery first, opening things up in a very, very macro-orientated way. Once again, he sends the drone over there to make sure he knows what his opponent's up to. And MVP is going for a command center first, so this drone could be very annoying. Didn't see it slip by, though. Yeah,
that was a nice little adjustment there from MVP if we compare Game 1 to Game 2. He didn't want to get, you know, that drone down there to block him, to try to harass. And that scares Stephano a little bit to thinking, is it a 2x? No, okay, there it is.
Yep, spots it and will start picking away at that SCV once again. Another SCV has to come down for MVP to try and deny that. He even brings down the third. Oh, actually, no, he's actually... Yeah, he is going to bring down the third. So, very impressive. Ooh, almost gets that. There was the potential there. He could have just gone for an extractor and tried to save it if he thought he was going to take more damage. But spawning pool on the way for Stephano.
Yeah, super normal game, of course. Oh, there's normal openings. Command center first into the barracks gas. Exactly the same from MVP. The one difference is that Stephano hasn't opted to get a gas. This is the time he got it previously. So I think we may be looking at seeing a heavy Queen style. Queen heavy style, if he doesn't take a gas anytime soon, is actually pretty good against a lot of aggressive options that MVP has to offer. And we're going to have to follow closely. Does MVP add a second gas after his factory? If so, then the aggressive options are going to spread themselves out. And Stephano's going to be well equipped. If you think about what can come, Banshees or Hellbat drops, Queens are very good at dealing with all of them. And the Hellbat drop, the scariest thing about it is actually the Medivac. It's not the Hellbat. They're so slow, so immobile. It's the Medivacs which make them strong.
Yeah, allowed not only to heal, but also to boost into the positions that you want to. And MVP is well versed in the micro of being able to just reposition his units via Medivacs, etc. But coming to Akalon Wastes here, once again, I think... because of the way we've seen Zergs actually vetoing this map time and time again against Terrans, I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest if Stephano wanted to open up with something very aggressive here to try and kill off MVP, but we'll have to see.
That's true. His gases do come down at the normal timing here. The main reason why Terran players like to play this map and vice versa, Stephano doesn't like to play this map, or Zerg players should I say, is that the third base is very easily taken by a Protoss or Terran on this map. It's protected by some destructible rocks which can fall down and then create a wall, or rock tower should I say, and there's just two areas. With the rocks there, a tank, a Widowmine behind it, it's really indestructible. And likewise on the natural, it's hard to break up that ramp, and more importantly, the fourth base just south of the natural is even easier to take for MVP, who can protect an open area outside his natural and outside his fourth base, which is very difficult for aggressive Zerg players to get run-bys in, to try anything.
And that 4-Queen style is now flourishing here.
Roach comes down. I don't know if that's aggressive, though. There's no Zergling speed, remember. He might be trying to play... If we see double Evolution Chamber come down, it's going to be for 1-1 Roaches like previously, but... we'll see. Okay, there it is. Okay.
Yeah.
So it is going to be a new style from Stephano.
And MVP for now, he is actually creating himself that armory as well. Did he see that double evolution chamber? Yes, he did see the double evolution chamber. So that's might end up giving MVP a little bit of a tip-off as to what his opponent is up to in regards to not going for huge amounts of aggression right now, at least, which will keep MVP in a very, very clear mind.
I think Stephano is reading MVP very well in this game, expecting on this map, because it is more difficult for an Overlord to scout out the Terran main base. As we can see, it can't really go in because it will get shut down easily. We are seeing the second gas, or we have seen the second gas being taken, Starport and Armory. Hellbats are the option here. There are 4 Queens out. There are Roaches already being made here too. This is the exact same way that Stephano played against an aggressive 4GG previously.
And those queens will be able to shoo away those Hellions, and that is going to give him another signal to just start spreading that creep once again. He's spreading it in waves, placing down new creep tumors where the exact same ones begin. Timing that out perfectly means that the rhythm and the tempo for Stephano going into that mid-game is going to be very, very regimented.
You brought up a really good point in the previous game where you said that Stephano took a third base before Evolution Chambers, right? What has he not done there is take that third base. That's another thing that I feel that he's reading into this a little bit more. MVP is going to have to try and do damage, and more importantly, avoid overlords. If this gets spotted before it comes in, then Stephano's going to have queens and roaches in position here. And look at that, a second and third factory. We're going to see mech. MVP's going to play mech like we saw against Demaga and like we've seen other Terran players play not very often.
And how is Stephano going to try and shut that down? These Hellions did actually sneak on in, though. They're going to get 1 or 2 kills here. He pulls off a few drones to try and combat that, and he loses in total 4 drones.
But more importantly, the Hellbats have come in. They've been spotted.
They have
no, they haven't. No, they haven't actually, but he's expecting it. They definitely weren't spotted there.
Yeah, the Roach is now moving back here to try and deal with this. They're not that fast, though, even without Glory Constitution on that creep. So trying to hunt this down. That medevac really providing some great mobility. He has to be very, very careful with those drones. They're all so low, and he loses 1 drone or 2 drones during that.
All right, 5 drones lost is not enough. For MVP's investment, that's not enough. Behind it, he has the 3rd command center. And let's, go back to what we said earlier. This map is very... Up and down go these barracks and command centers and factories. It's a very easily third base taken map.
Yeah.
So MVP's going to play mech because he knows he can get to a 5th and 6th gap easily. Just lift up and go down. Stephano pauses for 1 second, so don't worry about anything. But I want to just, rewind your memory a little bit. Let's go back in time a bit. Demaga, or however you want to rewind. Demaga versus MVP. Demaga's highest strength position in the game was when Vipers came out. That was the biggest point, the biggest opportunity he had to beat MVP was when Vipers came out, and then from there on down, it went a little bit downhill.
Yeah.
Stephano needs to play 2-2 timing Viper against this mech. I don't think he's actually... seen he's playing against mech. Stephano is calling for an admin too, so we will get this going now. Okay, it's already fixed.
He hasn't seen mech.
He hasn't seen mech. Once he identifies mech, that will be his game plan. He will go straight to Vipers. They are the key in putting the blinding cloud down and eliminating this.
Yeah, that blinding cloud we already saw for Demaga. It worked out greatly, but MVP's resilience and really did stand the test of time in that game. As for now, MVP moving around in the middle of the map. These 2 medevacs have not been spotted just yet, whilst those roaches move out into a position of power. But still, it's not going to be too much power if. I don't think he spotted that.
Medivacs, I think, was spotted by the 3 roaches at the back. But at home, MVP has enough to defend this. He has 2 tank siege ups, it's fine. Stephano definitely is going to have to defend against this, but with what at the moment?
Well, he's got a few queens there. They're going to try and focus down those medevacs. He gets 1 of them very, very quickly, but still those queens are going to take a lot of damage, trying to retreat them out where he can, whilst trying to bring those units back. Good transfuses here by Stephano, trying to keep these 2 queens alive, but 1 is actually trying to run away as best he can do. He picks up 2 of the Hellbats, trying to get those out. If he loses this queen, he's going to save it. He's going to save it.
Great micro by Stephano. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
But there is, should I say, another drop to the 3rd base and another one. Oh, okay, that's a Viking, never mind. A drop down here.
Trying to do some damage to the drones as well as maybe the queen once again. He still hasn't killed off a single worker with these attempted Hellbat drops since that first one, and they die off. Another great defense by Stephano.
Yeah, and look at the Overlord speed was researching this game to bring all the Overlords home upon seeing the Viking. But the weakness of, I guess Stephano's good that he's been able to bring the Overlords back, but he hasn't seen the drops coming in, number 1, which is very important to note. And number 2, he doesn't really know what he's playing against. He may have seen the Hellbats with +1 at that point. He is going over to Hive. I think his game plan was to generally just go to Hive off 3 base.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that he's clicked he's playing against mech. He may have. Seen so many Hellbats, he may have.
Yeah.
And in that point, he will be going over to Vipers. He will be going over to a 3rd and 4th base at the same time. But I am a little bit scared about these Hellbat drops. It seems like MVP is playing this out really well, but he hasn't broken Stephano properly yet. Throughout this game, only 5 drones have been killed. He needs to do a little bit more than that.
And for MVP, his second armory has only just come in now, so his upgrades are going to be a little bit lackluster. A great scan, though, sees that Hive timing. That's going to trigger MVP to know exactly what Stephano is up to at this point in time. It's going to be that 3-3 as quickly as he possibly can do for those roaches, for those Hydralisks that he's getting the Hydralisk den down for. with that pathogen glands as well for a few infestors, Stephano's going to have a pretty impressively strong ranged army in the mid-game.
His creep spread's pretty good too.
Yeah.
For MVP, he's only working off one armory though, so he's only going to have attack up. Okay, sorry, there is a second armory. +1 armor just now started, so he will be able to catch up in upgrades. MVP's game plan should all be about defense and drops. That's the two in combination is perfect. Deal damage via drops, defend by sitting back, passively taking expansion slowly but surely. We do see a Hellbat drop coming in.
And he's
too much.
Gonna get pushed away for now. The extra roaches will scuttle on down there to that main and try and shut this down. He could actually fungal that and lock it in place to kill it off. And it looks like he will end up killing it. So, whoop, or not, if he does speed on out there.
Is there a Spore Crawl on the natural? Or just out of range?
No.
And there is one further down though, so it looks like it will get picked off if he continues north. And there is a Spore Crawl there, so this medevac is going to have to deposit its load.
Yep. And we'll try and get maybe 1 or 2 drones. He queues up the attacks and gets 1 drone for his troubles. Does he get a second? Yes, he does. So 7 workers been killed thus far.
Okay, looking at what Stephano's got set up, he absolutely wants to be rushing towards 200 supply and taking a fight at 200 supply. The same time he reaches 200 supply is when MVP will move his forces down onto the low ground and will try to defend his 4th base properly. At that point, a Viper strike would be key and crucial. Behind this, the Spire is coming down and he is going over to Broodlords very shortly. Doesn't have any Broodling upgrades yet. He'll have to do that once +3 is done, considering he's only got 2 Evolution Chambers.
Where he can at least assess what his opponent is up to. He's still technically
2-1 upgrades versus 2-2. 3-3 isn't ready yet.
He needs to take the engagement so carefully here. MVP now almost maxed out with his army, and he pulls a few of those Thors forwards, killing one off. Second one gets away. A siege tank killed it.
Hellbats have invaded the south. And 3 Spine Crawlers trying to defend, and a couple of roaches, well, quite a few roaches and Hydras do come in too, but MVP's getting in good position, sniping down the Vipers. Here comes the Blinding Cloud, I guess. Here's just one, but he's going to filter through there, and I'm not sure this is the best position to attack. MVP's going to clean up so many of these units. Look at everything melting under MVP's fire.
32 Hydralisks are in production, though. Stephano needs to buy himself some time. He doesn't want this location sieged up whatsoever. However, he's going to kill off one of the Hellbats up to the north here, but at the same time, he now needs to just kind of find a good angle to engage into.
Or MVP, a really strong push. There are no Vipers for Stephano, and this is going to be very difficult. MVP holds his position strong at 165 supply to 173. This favors MVP at the point. Here come those reinforcements. This is Hydras. They're getting blown up. They're getting thrown across, and MVP stands strong on this position. But remember, the expansion isn't super important to Stephano. He has another one at the 1 o'clock position, and then he's getting into gas on that now. He realizes he's going to have to give this up. But MVP, a nice, beautiful push there. Really nice timing.
Yeah, really lovely positioning as well. The MVP creating trampoline Hydralisks, not really helping out Stephano too much there with an extra Viper on the way, but those Vikings really do rule the sky. Once again, just trying to push in, but there's so much firepower. He does end up closing the gap, but everything dies off almost before it reaches it. He captures a few siege tanks in the process, and those Zerglings close the gap on the in that 3rd base, or 4th base, and kill off all the siege tanks.
All right, well, nice cleanup there by Stephano, but it's just going to continue going on. MVP's playing this out very, very strong, and we talked about how MVP can play different styles. A great scan from MVP saying, okay, there, oh, he's got another base up there. I'm not as far ahead as I thought I was, so let's throw down a bunch of command centers and get there. As he does throw down a couple more. I think a really nice goal for Stephano would be to get up to Roach Viper Hydra again, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a Mutalisk switch, a strong one, considering he did research. Did he complete +1 attack? Yeah, he did. You know, that could be very strong, considering there are not many Vikings, there are 0 Thors in this composition, and we saw the deadly amount of damage it did before the Thors came out earlier.
Yeah,
but he needs the gas, and that's something he doesn't have at this point.
You're right, he kind of... And the thing is that whenever an engagement comes along, he has to remax out with those gas units. So he needs to find a point in this game where the aggression from MVP somehow, some way subsides. If it's by putting on aggression yourself, or just trying to create some strange split map scenario. But against mech like this, it can be tough to do.
I really have to stress how good MVP is at playing mech here.
Yeah.
He's controlling the game well. He's done nothing but drop into a specific strike down to that south expansion, and now he's claiming a 5th base to the bottom right. Stephano seems to be on search towards it. MVP's trying to get there to defend it. Oh,
Ooh, catches some of those siege tanks, maybe. Nope, has to pull on back now from that.
This would be a nice snipe if Stephano can get this.
I think he could. I think he could. The mech army is too slow here, and he's going to actually take down that planetary fortress. He's trying to be repaired, but no. Goodbye, planetary fortress. Ooh, and almost turned around into some of those siege tanks.
Really nice, abusing the immobility of mech there to be able to pick off that expansion, slowing MVP down a little bit here. But so far, a great game. Stephano's re-expanded to the south and taken another 2 expansions to the very north and the very south on this map. A great display from both players again. Great, 2 fantastic macro players here going toe-to-toe. But I still think MVP is slightly weak towards good blinding cloud attacks.
And how many Vipers does he have? He has 5 right now, and I'm assuming that they're very, very high on energy. Actually, no, they've got a little bit, but not too much. Tries to pull some of those siege tanks, gets some kills, tries to run on back. Not too bad a trade there for Stephano.
I think Stephano is really, honestly, planning to set up a Mutalisk switch with +2 attacks coming in. Just remember that. The Corruptors are coming in, though, to start to deal with a couple of these Vikings. But good position again from MVP. A good position, but a position for what? What is he really controlling at this point? Not too much. He needs to edge his way towards an expansion.
MVP has learned today already that he has to separate these siege tanks as best he can do. Corvid reactor starts behind this. Vikings in production as well. I've seen Corruptors. He runs those blinding clouds. A few units come in from every single angle here, but he has to fall back. Stephano, he's not going to break this right now.
Stephano's lost a lot of units here. He is down in army supply as he loses roaches and hydras left and right. And he's producing 24 lings. And if I'm not mistaken, he still doesn't have Zergling speed. These are going to be very useless at this point. And MVP is cutting off the top half of the map. Stephano's almost going to have to give up this base as he cancels every unit that was making there. I'd like to point out something here, Claris, is that when I was watching MVP versus Damaga, MC said MVP missed out on Raven Switch. Very, very late with a Raven Switch. It's much earlier in here. The 8 Mutalisk Switch isn't... I think Stephano's bringing out his ace card before it's ready. He's bringing out the best card he has. He doesn't really want to show this yet, but he has to. He's losing a lot of expansions. He will be able to catch MVP and push him back, but he won't get the power blow that he ideally wanted.
No, you're entirely right. You're absolutely spot on. This is desperation here from Stephano. He has to somehow now seal his bases off against this kind of mech army. There's a lot of Vikings there, though, that are going to cause him a hell of a lot of problems. There's only 7 Corruptors out. He's going to try and go for the snipe on the base once again because that's all he can do. He can't engage the army right now.
Blinding Cloud prevents the Planetary Fortress from attacking. The Mutalisks have actually been revealed, so we're going to see Thors and Vikings probably just coming out. Stephano has denied another expansion, but MVP sees all this. He's actually saying, well, that's not a lot of Mutas, man. He said it in that very tone, and he just marches forward for expansion after expansion after expansion, and here comes the Thor production too.
13 Vikings combating those 13 Mutalisks now that are out on the field, and really not a good position to be in for Stephano at all, as the Vikings once again do try and push this back, as admittedly there are Corruptors there in tow to try and help that out, and the Blinding Clouds will land on some of these siege tanks. I think they were trying to land
just on one siege tank there. That's only one siege tank. Everything's going to die.
He catches a lot of the Vikings though with those pulls, and now that actually really limits how much anti-air that MVP has. These Mutalisks are going to rule the skies for now and try and kill off as many siege tanks as they can do, trying to buy time for Stephano. Again, it was desperation. He has to kill this off.
So Stephano down in supply. MVP's making the switch over to Thors here. Stephano's killing off tanks one by one. MVP knows all the tanks are dead at this point. He's splitting them across different angles, different bases, trying to pick off as much as he can here. Stephano in a race against time here. Lings are now going to be super good. Stephano cleans up a lot. Supplies, look how close it is. With these 3 tanks going down, Stephano will take a supply lead here.
And the Mutalisk count is rising.
Just 2 off. Oh no, there it is. Supply lead by 1. So Stephano takes a supply lead, but the problem is that Thors and Vikings and Hellbats, it is such a strong composition against what we see Zerglings and Mutalisks. And remember, there's no melee upgrades.
Yeah, this is getting a bit hard for Stephano here in game number 2. MVP is playing a phenomenal mech style. If it hadn't have been for the desperation mute switch by Stephano, MVP would have continued to run over him slowly but surely. Corruptions go down. He's going to try and magic box these Thors out of position, and at the same time, one of them will end up going down very quickly, but the Mutalisk is still taking a lot of damage, as does the second one. Can he take out the third Thor as well as the Vikings?
Stephano's making things work here with the Corruptors and Vikings in combination. The Vikings are falling down. Likewise are the Thors here. MVP doesn't have any Thors left. He's got no anti-air once again. Stephano's Mutalisk switch with +2 attack is working wonders here. but does he have enough economy around the rest of the map to be able to support what he needs to keep on going against MVP, who still is mining quite efficiently?
Yeah, I don't think so. It's not looking that great here. He throws down Blinding Cloud on that missile turret, wants to try and take that out. MVP is establishing himself a position here to try and save some of the siege tanks where he can. And Stephano needs to kill off the anti-air bit by bit, just small little chunks as it moves out, trying to deny Stephano from doing the damage at other locations. But MVP knows missile turrets are going to save the day for him here if he's careful about it.
Yeah, and Stephano tries to get in there. MVP needs to keep this defense strong. He really needs this expansion down here. Tanks are starting to fall off. The Mutalisk counts at 16. Not that high. MVP, though, needs money, just like Stephano does here. And there goes the Blinding Cloud on that turret, and these SCVs and Mules will fall. Likewise will the turret. Corruptors in combination with Mules are going to try to bring down this command center. Stephano is going to be able to bring this down. MVP, though, will start to run out of money, Stephano. But I think he may have too much anti-air. 7 Thors, 2 Vikings, 2 Ravens.
Yeah, that's
it may be too much. MVP may have just mined enough money to have a good enough army to beat what Stephano has. But remember, the more time that goes on, the more money Stephano is making, and he's made a switch over to Broodlords now.
Nice.
182 supply. Boy, oh boy, I don't even know how he's that high, considering he hasn't been mining that much. It's been a fantastic game, back and forth. MVP attempts another expansion down at the south base. Stephano must not let MVP mine there.
3 of the Thors actually went with that army whilst he was assaulting that location. Now they're going to end up coming along as they have all been realized there by MVP. Stephano's army supply right now, 80 to 140. MVP's army is looking absolutely phenomenal. Stephano needs to constantly buy himself time and string his opponent across the map.
So many of that army supply, though, is tanks. It's all about the pulling of the Thors. The Thors, I was about to say, if he pulls in the Thors, there won't be that much anti-air here, and the Mutalisks get right on top of them. The Broodlords may live strong. It's going to be incredibly close, but...
Seekers, they actually connect with some of those Mutalisks, and he tries to do some splash damage to the Thors at the back, but it's not enough there. So much of MVP's mech army starts rolling across this. Well played.
MVP, what a game. What a game from MVP. Yeah. Incredible to go from one style to another in an instant. But MVP just... Look how good he is with mech. Played a great game there, and this series is tied up.
1-1. We're now down to best of 5 in essence, but with those 2 games still actually in their minds, and now they have to account for the fact that anybody can mix things up. I think with the solid macro style of Stephano in game 1, with that solid macro style of MVP in game number 2, if anybody takes huge risks, I think that would be really scary for them.
Well, it's all about to unfold. There's going to be a lot of mind games, a lot of thought process going into every single map. What did my opponent do that I could exploit? What can I do